Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Who Dat Jedi podcast. This is episode 237. Did you miss us? Oh my goodness, it has been people traveling, people getting sick. It's just been kind of, we haven't been around. So, welcome back with us. With me, as always, the other members of the Who Dat Jedi Council, Dave, Fredo. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hola.
So let's see. I traveled. Fredo traveled. I came. Well, actually, I traveled and I came back and then got COVID. So that was wonderful. My when I went to Nebraska in June, came home and my wife caught something when she was in Cleveland, and as married couples do, you share it, and it settled in my ears. So my ears have been plugged up since June. And they were finally starting to ease up. And then we got back from Colorado and I tested positive for COVID and it just started all over again. But Fredo traversed the extreme southeast and then to the Midwest. And then Dave went to parts unknown that's nicer and on a family vacation. So now we're all back to the grindstone. So
sadly.
Well, actually, I'm flying out tomorrow to Houston, and then next week to Denver. So I'm still on the road.
So we went to Colorado, went to Red Rocks for a concert, and it's been more than 20 years since we've been to Red Rocks. If you've never been to Red Rocks, go to a concert there. Even if you can't go to a concert, just go and just see what it looks like. But the thing, I don't know, have you guys ever been to a concert there? Dave,
yes.
You have the best thing about it. You are still sitting kind of close to the person next to you, but the leg room in front of you is glorious. You can stretch your legs out. It's, and it's like, and if you stand up, you can kind of move in front of the person next to you, so you're not on top. It's perfect. But no, I forgot the hike from the parking lot to row one.
Yeah.
When I got to our seats, and we weren't in row one, but we got to our seats and I looked at my Apple Watch. It said we had climbed 15 flights. And yeah, people were stopping, like, go upstairs and you'd get on a landing and people were stopping. And, if everybody was in their 20s, they'd be taking hits of something else, but everybody was taking hits of inhalers and, wheezing like the old middle-aged people we were. But, yeah.
Who did you see and how did they sound?
It was Melissa Etheridge and the Indigo Girls. And
Yes.
Melissa Etheridge was awesome. She is a rock star. The Indigo Girls are really good as well. It's just it happens at Jazz Fest as well, or any festival. It's like I sometimes wonder what the sound person is listening to. Especially the Indigo Girls, when you're talking about what they're known for are their harmonies and their mixture of voices. And when one is way higher than the other, we're all sitting there and you can't hear really one singer, but you can hear the other. It's like, who's running this? Are they on break? It's like, what's going on here? That's just kind of an easy thing. I don't know, but it was still very, very good. So yeah, it was good.
We saw Death Cab there, and yeah, it was just.
I tell you, man,
sunset happening,
yes,
across the horizon.
I tell you, if I could get into DeLorean, I would go see U2 at Red Rocks for Under a Blood Red Sky. Can you imagine? Can you imagine that? Oh, but just that venue it sounds good, but just you go for the scenery. There's no venue like it. No venue like it.
Yeah, the sound is good, but the setting is sort of more of the draw.
Now, be mindful of when you are going, because we saw REM there, and it was as we were just talking about, it was like late September, early October, I think. And so the mountains, it get cold.
Very much so.
It gets cold, even though even though it might be like 80 degrees during the day, it's gonna be cold after that. So yeah.
You also run the issue of whenever they do get, like, say, a shower, a thunderstorm, you better have brought a poncho, and even that's not going to help you at all. Because I think I've seen footage of at least one concert, not
Well,
several. Like
you too. It's
when they run,
raining
yeah.
during that, during their Sunday Bloody Sunday video. So anyway, that was mine. I don't know. Anybody else want to share where they've been, what they've been doing?
For me, I mean, I went to West Palm Beach for a work conference, which turned out really well. It went really fine. Then I went to Chicago because we're doing a bit of a family reunion up there. Had some family. Talk about rain. We ran into really bad. My brother and my brother's family run into torrential rain like that looked like you were flooding here in New Orleans. And that's when you learn that driving through standing water is not a skill people outside of New Orleans necessarily have learned because you have so many puddles, whatever, people just flying right through. And I'm like, come on, you don't know, go slowly, don't push all that water into people's homes. But it was fun. It was fun. I mean, we got to go to the Art Institute of Chicago, which we could have spent 2, 3 days there and not seen everything. That was amazing. Got to eat a whole bunch of amazing food, which I always say Chicago's the one city that puts a plate down for you, and every meal is a challenge. Finish this.
All right, let's
Most
let's
of the
make
time, you
our
won't.
let's make our Chicago friends upset. Most overrated Chicago fare.
Oh, I'm not doing it.
Bear,
Yeah, no, we're
Chicago
doing. We're
Bear.
going. We're going there. We're going there.
I
Let's
know
do it.
where you want to go with this.
No,
I'm
it's just
sure.
not necessarily. You don't know necessarily food wise.
Yeah.
Oh, food wise. So I thought you said Chicago Bear, and I was going
No,
to
I
say,
said.
Okay. Okay. All right.
I
All
was
right.
saying. I was saying
I'll tell you. I'll
fair.
tell you. I'll tell you. In my opinion, the tavern pizza. Like, just stop. Just stop. Right. The deep dish is what it's famous for, and it's touristy, and I get that. That's what like. It's not, according to some people, not real pizza. All that, right? But it's kind of a unique experience, and it's hard to get it in other locations. The tavern pizza, I'm like, it's just thin crust pizza. That's what that is. That's all it is.
It's a niche, huh? So it's like.
Yeah, and like every Chicago person you talk to, they're like, "Oh yeah, no, the deep dish is for the tourists. We all like the tavern." And I'm like, "Okay, it's thin crust pizza. I don't see the big deal. Sorry. There's my spiel."
All right.
I would say if I was gonna say something that's overrated, something that a friend of mine kind of keeps talking about, hyping up, it's Portillo's. And it's not because it's bad, it's because it's being commercialized. Like it's okay, can I throw another one in there?
Yeah.
Malort. Chicago people have taken that on as their own, and I get it. It's like they found it's like the dog pool. It's like the world's ugliest dog, and they have embraced the world's ugliest dog because it's their world's ugliest dog. Malort tastes the way heartbreak feels. Is the only way I can describe it. It is rank, it is rancid, and every time I go to the Globe Pub up there to see an Arsenal match or anywhere else, they want to give you like, "Oh, you're from out of town. When you try Malort," now I go, it's almost like the people here were like, "I know where you got them shoes, where you got your
Sir,
shoes."
what's my lord? Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Right.
Durr. Yeah. I think for me, it's yeah. First of all, I will say I'm not going to go the deep dish pizza is because you're right. I'm not saying that's overrated because it's unique. You're not. That's you try it,
You try
because
it, you like it.
it's not. Don't expect it's not the way I would call what I would call a pizza. But I mean that's for an argument for another time. But I mean it's good and it's because it's something that you don't. It's like coming to New Orleans and you get jambalaya or gumbo. It's because you're not going to go to Kansas City and get gumbo. So
Or you go stand in line at Cafe Du Monde for an hour to get three beignets.
well, but
And
that's
there's like a million places to get beignets.
however that's what that's the thing I tell people is when you come here, don't go in the middle of the day to get your beignets. Go at like 10 o'clock at night. So anyway, but the one I would say is the Chicago dog.
Mm.
It's yeah, I think it comes with too many rules and and it's a hot dog. I mean,
Too many rules.
well,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, right. They're
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
you
I
can't
went
get ketchup.
I
Right?
went to a
That's-
place. I ordered a
Yeah.
Chicago dog because it's what you do, and I was looking at this, and I actually, because I'm smart, man, because I live in New Orleans, I said, all right, so I know how I want to eat this, but how am I supposed? She said, do not use utensils. It's like, all right, cool. That's what I didn't want to be a pariah, but again, it's like there are
There are rules.
rules, you know. So anyway,
No ketchup allowed.
and by the way, we live in
Yeah.
a city that is, for as wonderful as our people are, we have a lot of rules and a lot of gatekeeping that goes on as far as our food and fare is concerned. But yeah, the Malort one, yeah, is kind of getting, yeah, come on, folks. But anyway, all right. So Dave, and you went to greener
North
pastures.
Carolina,
Yeah.
the Blue Ridge Mountains. We do that annually because our kids go there for cancer camp, we call it, which is a camp for kids whose parents have had cancer. And all the kids who get to go there, they get to go there for free. Everything's donated. The counselors are often kids who've graduated out of the program themselves. And it's just a really good opportunity for these kids to share time with people who understand what they've been through and what they continue to go through. And it's just really lovely. It's called Camp Kesem, and they have several camps throughout the country. And we like to go to the one in North Carolina because it's just the most gorgeous setting. And then while the kids go to camp, Kate and I just sort of bum around the area for 4 days or so.
Cool. They got good beer in North Carolina.
Yeah, it's good. You know, they've got a bazillion microbreweries, so that's cool. And they've got some distilleries. That's one of the things that we do. They have there's a distillery there that does flavored whiskeys, which is kind of neat. I don't usually like flavored whiskeys, but they do a really good job with it. And so that's good. And, you know, the food there is good. You know, it's a great spot. Like, we've talked about retiring there because it's just lovely.
Retiring. I'm wondering if I'm ever going to be able to retire.
Well,
you know, that's
yeah, pie in the sky. But,
so
I'm not.
Retiring or buried, Dave? Which so
no, that's it. Like, this is the game we're all playing right now. It's like, when do you cash out your 401k before they make it completely worthless?
yeah.
Because that's the billionaire play, right? They're going to manipulate the markets in such a way that they come out ahead and everyone else loses. So it's like, okay.
Welcome to the Who Dat Jedi Financial Podcast, everybody.
You need to
How do I beat the billionaires?
So cool. Well, I tell you what, yeah, like, you know, we just have a lot to get caught up on. Fredo's got a bunch of news, and Dave and Fredo are going to talk about a video game that I've never played, so I'm going to learn and moderate. But first, let's do some trivia. Dun, 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 dun. All right, Fredo, to you.
Okay.
What color is Protocol Droid TC-14? What color is Protocol Droid TC-14?
Silver.
It is silver. Yes. The movie Phantom Menace. Yep. All right.
I'm trying to think. I don't think we've ever seen a protocol droid that was another gold, silver. Was there a black one at one point, maybe? But that would, I don't think that.
There's black one in the comics. There's a white one on Hoth, of course. So yeah. All right, Dave, to you. Who does Luke urge with the line "Come with me"? Who does Luke urge with the line "Come with me"?
Goodness gracious. Darth Vader?
It is Darth Vader.
Okay.
Yep.
I was thinking Leia, but it was Leia who was telling him to come with her.
So I got a question here.
Okay.
Before we get to my trivia question, this is something I was thinking about. Is that why is it okay for the Jedi who are supposed to, everything is supposed to be like, the natural way of things, and and good and everything. Why is using the Jedi mind trick acceptable?
Shouldn't be.
You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
that's like I don't know. It's because I don't know, because they ultimately have good intentions, so they're going to use bad weapons. I mean, to manipulate somebody's mind that way. I don't know. They were talking about it a little bit on a podcast somewhere, just how they were using the Jedi mind trick in Rebels, and then it got me thinking. It was like, so Obi-Wan using it on the stormtroopers, and then also on Death Sticks. Got Ilan Sleazebagano. Yeah, that's his name. I don't know. It just was like, I think the Jedi are problematic. I think that should be the topic of a podcast sometime.
Yeah, that thing could last 5 hours.
So
the thing with this is like I'm sure there's like a whole long credo somewhere on the internet about this, because there is a differentiation between I'm going to use it on this stormtrooper who's harassing us versus I'm going to use it on people that are deliberating a particular course of action, which was like the example that we saw in Phantom Menace when Qui-Gon was like, we cannot use our powers to influence what they decide to do here.
But by God, he tries to use it on Watto.
I know.
And that was to hustle him out of, a part, and like not to have to pay so much.
He was trying to pay him what it was worth. He just wanted him to accept the form of payment that he was trying to use.
Anyway, we'll have to revisit this sometime. Okay. And I'm sorry, my rule. It's the first one that I see. To me, and this is softball lofted up in the air, and all of the outfield laying down. What 10-word phrase appears at the beginning of each movie? What 10-word phrase appears at the beginning of each movie? That is a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Dave, as a writer, has it ever bothered you that the ellipsis that they use at the end of that is 4 dots?
Not really. A little bit. The one that really bothers me for some reason is Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. I think it uses 2 exclamation points.
Yeah.
And that one just irks me, man.
It's either 1 or 3.
Why 2? Yeah.
All right. Well, let us get into some news. Fredo, over to you.
All right, let's start with the newest, or the most recent. It was announced last week that Matt Smith, he of Doctor Who, House of the Dragon, Morbius, for those of you connoisseurs of cinema, has been cast in the upcoming Star Wars Starfighter. He's now the 3rd actor who's been cast in this movie behind Ryan Gosling and Mia Goth. What's interesting is, unlike those other 2, Matt Smith has been identified as a villain's role. It doesn't say what, just says he will be playing a villain. Again, don't know how many villains there are. He's going to be one of them. So it's interesting that they're saying that way. But okay, so there's movement towards it. The film's supposed to be filming sometime in the fall, maybe. We'll see. But there's progress towards getting this thing actually in theaters in a couple of years.
But he was rumored to be in episode 9, right?
Mm-hmm. At one point there was. I think he even said he had met with Colin Trevorrow and may have talked about some role. But of course, all of that went away when that movie shifted directions under J.J. Abrams.
There's been a lot of discussion about how he would just make the perfect Imperial officer. And until we are proven differently, that we can just probably pencil him in as Imperial officer number 1.
Well, here's the thing. Like, all you need to do is watch The Crown and see him and recognize he is the perfect Imperial Admiral when he's playing Prince Philip.
I kind of like the fact that I have no idea what this movie is going to be about, So I can't even begin to even. Okay, he's going to be a bad guy.
Mhm.
Cool. All right. Um,
Next, we'll move right quick to from somebody in the middle of his career to somebody who is doing new things towards the end of his career. So last week they had a a performance of the Boston Symphony Orchestra in Lenox, Massachusetts, and during which, as an honor to John Williams, during which they debuted his first ever concerto for piano and orchestra, which again, guy's 93, he is wheelchair bound now or limited in his mobility, and he's still writing music, which is an amazing thing to consider.
looking at my Google News feed, I'm just always paranoid for the day we lose him. But I mean, uh, music keeps you sharp mentally. I mean, might not. I mean, you get 93, you're gonna probably need wheelchair and stuff like that as well. But and he writes by hand as well. So
Old school.
um, you know that yeah, I think that's awesome to be. I just hope that I'm productive that late in life. Have something. I'm not saying that I'm going to be writing a piano concerto, but can I be productive? Can I still be, singing? Can I still be, you know, whatever?
Before Dave jumps in, I want to ask Aaron, as somebody who's studied music, done music, how much of an effort does it take to write a piano concerto like that, where you have to write for the piano, but you're also writing for an orchestra as well?
I mean, there are some when you're writing in a certain style, there are certain formulas and rules and things like that. Um, so yeah, I mean, it is involved. I mean, the person we should have on is my former student who just got his doctorate and he's a composer. Um, but so yeah, and I don't want to. Yeah, I don't even want to start being a value. I haven't heard the piano concerto, so I don't want to get
Right.
no value judgment. But like I said, there's rules and formula and stuff like that, and I think John Williams could orchestrate a melody, you know, blindfolded at by this point. Um, so it would be the piano part that would be most interesting to wonder how long he took on it. But I mean, it's complex. It is for sure.
He's a legend. That's all I have to add. Is he's just a freaking legend. We love him.
Mhm,
Don't go
mhm.
anywhere.
Again, it's all I can say. It's amazing. He's 93 and he's still creating, and
I,
I guess that just it speaks to how music is just a part of him.
I
Like you can't stop it.
tell you what, Michael Giacchino is kind of get cementing, you know, his position in Star Wars music, and very, well thought of. So yeah,
Mm.
I saw
Okay.
somebody talking like they're, list your five favorite composers that aren't Zimmer or Williams. Go, and it was, and like people weren't listing Giacchino, and I'm like, you people are losing it, man. He's incredible. I love him.
Yep. Didn't he compose the one for The Incredibles with just that alone? I'm like, perfect.
Oh yeah.
And
well,
then I think he's done all the Mission Impossible movies, which again, it's kind of hard to write for an action movie,
well, this kid
but he
is
does it well.
composing as well, I believe. But then of course you got Ludwig Göransson, so that I
Mm.
mean, yeah, it's nice that we're starting to get names that because for a while it's only been John Williams or it's been just schlock, and I think it's like movie composing seems to be becoming more of a thing now again. So I don't know.
Or at least the baton has sort of been passed forward.
Yeah,
Some of these younger people are coming into it and doing really well and doing really impressive stuff. So it's good to see.
All right, we'll move on right quick from one bit of good news to another bit of different news. So, last week it was announced that Disney and Lucasfilm had settled their lawsuit from Gina Carano over her dismissal from The Mandalorian. Uh, I'm just going to read from the Hollywood Reporter. It says they settled a lawsuit from Gina Carano, who accused the studios of discrimination and wrongful termination over her fire from The Mandalorian. Lucasfilm spokesperson said, with this lawsuit concluded, we look forward to identifying opportunities to work together with Ms. Carano in the future. We have reached an agreement with her to resolve the issues in her pending lawsuit against the company. She has always respected about directors, co-stars, and staff. She worked hard to perfect her craft while treating her colleagues with kindness and respect. In turn, she replied, this was the best outcome for all parties involved. My desires remain in the arts. Obviously, terms of the settlement were not going to be shared with everybody. They're undisclosed. So,
Good. Yay.
yeah. Yeah. And look, I was saying this, but I was saying before we came on, a lot of times for a lot of people, the natural inclination is, particularly in civil law settlements, is to try to assign blame or justice to an outcome. But a lot of times it's a lot like the military. If it's a lot cheaper to settle than it is to fight it, you settle. And for Disney and Lucasfilm, it probably was cheaper than to keep dragging and billing legal hours and going through the whole process. So
Yeah, I mean, I was saying when we were talking before we recorded, it was, people have talked about um, that character of Cara Dune. Obviously, I think there was a lot of plans for that character, and I'm actually quite surprised that they haven't recast that because, like I said, that character was only in the zeitgeist for a fleeting moment. They could have easily recast that, and it wouldn't have been, you know, a blip on anybody's radar. Um, but maybe they can fill the need for. It was just nice to have a strong female character that could kick butt and take names. So
Well, to the point that you make about recasting, we don't really know the terms of this settlement either, and whether Disney decided to just throw a bunch of money at her to make her go away, or if they made us some other kind of concessions, such as, yes, we will cast you in
the Mandalorian and
3
Grogu.
features, or a TV show, or whatever. Um, you know, I wouldn't rule that out, but it's just, I like the way that you put it earlier, which was just like, well, if they decide they want to bring that character back, they could always recast it. And it's like, well, yeah, that's been an option for a while
Yeah,
now.
and obviously they haven't felt the need to bring it back. So anyway,
so we'll move on right quick, and I'll ask a quick question. Either one of you got $3 million I can borrow?
No.
I have a follow up question after you read this one. It's going to be a Sophie's choice moment for you guys. But anyway, go ahead.
So on September 4th through the 6th, so Thursday through Saturday, right after Labor Day, Prop Store is going to be running a massive entertainment memorabilia auction in LA, where they're going to be auctioning off such props as Sauron's helmet from The Lord of the Rings, the bullwhip and belt used by Harrison Ford in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, a a clapper board, so the board that they use to cut scenes from Jaws, and for the low price of pasta around $3 million, an actual lightsaber from Darth Vader. So this is the prop that was used in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, wielded by David Prowse and his stunt double Bob Anderson. And so obviously, I mean, it's they say the prop store CEO says surviving genuine lightsaber props from the original trilogy are exceedingly rare. They are honored to present this historic artifact in their September sale. It is a grail level piece worthy of the finest collections in the world. So,
All right.
again, they're trying to make sure if you want this is the only place you can get this.
So let me ask you guys. You have the money. The money is not an option here, but you can only buy one. Darth Vader's lightsaber, Luke Skywalker's lightsaber, or Han Solo's blaster. The prop. The actual prop.
That's something that shoots blasters. No.
I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. Like, I I know what you're saying. Pick one, right?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't spend, even if I had the money, I wouldn't spend.
See, that's what you get for upsetting the Star Wars gods. You get
I
frozen
just
on the
would not do
internet. See,
pickle
that's
minded.
what happens. You
Yeah.
you when you don't play my dumb little games, your internet goes to crap, and nobody hears your answer. So, all right.
Well,
Well, now,
okay.
now,
Well,
okay. So now
yeah, right.
let's change it then. All right. So
Okay.
you don't have to buy it. I've got all three of them. I'm dying. You get to, and I want one of you
Right.
guys to
There
have
you
each one of them. You get to pick one. Which one are you going to pick?
go.
Okay.
Okay.
So Vader's lightsaber, Han's blaster, Luke Skywalker's lightsaber.
I think I'd go with Luke Skywalker's lightsaber because it's still the most iconic. There's a reason they brought it back for the sequel trilogy. It vested such huge um, mythology upon it because it's the first lightsaber we ever saw. It's the one that we're all most attached to when we think of lightsaber. That's the one we think of. Although, don't get me wrong, I mean, I'm looking at the prop right now. By the way, right quick, you know, it was a press camera flash handle
Yeah.
that was doctored up with magnifying bubbles from a circuit board with magnifying bubbles from a calculator. So $3 million.
I'm with Fredo. I would take Luke's lightsaber. I think.
It would be tough. It would be tough between Luke's lightsaber or Han's blaster because both are so iconic. You
Well,
know,
let me throw it back at you this way. This I just mentioned some of the stuff that's on this auction. Vader's lightsaber, Indy's whip.
well, Vader's lightsaber.
Okay, Dave.
Yeah, you could lie about the whip. I mean, you could put any old whip on the wall and say that was Indiana's whip. Yeah.
Okay. I just figured since since they got no, they have so many pieces up there. But again, what's interesting is they're breaking up that auction in 3 days. So obviously they're expecting to make money. Which again, if I had $3 million, I'm not necessarily sure I would spend it on uh, prop. But again, I also know people who would have no problem spending that money on that. So
If you got $3 million
Although
to kick around, it's not going to be your last time to be able to kick around $3 million on something. So
this is where I was going with this. Okay. Although, like, I was very quick to dismiss the idea of Indiana Jones's whip. But if I already had Han Solo's blaster, I would at that point think, oh, it's another 3 million for Harrison Ford's whip as well, so that I could have both items. Well,
there you
I would
go.
never in a million years do this, but here we go.
now,
The other thing is,
the funny thing is, we're assuming that it's like some obscenely rich person who is going to buy it and put it on his fireplace mantle, but more than likely it's going to be some sort of movie memorabilia house or some
museum.
museum or something like that that's going to buy it. I mean, but
Quote
yeah,
Indy, it belongs in a museum.
but it might be some obscenely rich person who just wants Vader's lightsaber. So anyway, whatever.
Here's the other thing: if you got $3 million to get Vader's lightsaber, you probably have to have the state of security art system to make sure you can keep Darth Vader's lightsaber. You know, that's the other aspect. You can't just simply live where we live. Normal everyday domicile. You have to be in a fortress.
You'd have to put it in a freaking safe deposit box
And
somewhere,
what
right?
fun is that?
Hmm?
What
Which
fun
one?
is that?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
You would
Let's.
need not only a security system, you
I
would
would
need actual security
if
people.
if I was to buy something like that, I would buy it and I would donate it to a museum to have on display, and then so I could go see it whenever I wanted to and things like that. It's
Yeah,
yeah.
that would be the one concession.
I
Like, could
mean,
I get a free like enter any time pass?
well, again, if
Like
you're spending
yeah,
$3 million on a lightsaber, probably the ten
yeah.
bucks to get into the museum, is probably, whatever you fart that out. Anyway, um,
Last bit of news, and this one, okay, this one might be an interesting point of discussion. So, Fan Expo Boston was a weekend or so ago, actually last weekend, and John Boyega was making an appearance there. So during his appearance, they started asking about the sequel trilogy, and he kind of shared some ideas of what he thought his journey was going to be. According to him, and I'll find his quote, he said, quote, I think I assumed that Finn was force sensitive from the Force Awakens script, or at least by the time I got to the end of the script. I thought they were planning to have dual Jedi's. I thought that they would have Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, us, him and Daisy Ridley's Rey for a bit. They would turn against each other or something along those lines. So in other words, his idea was that at some point, uh, it's like you guys knew what to do with Daisy Ridley, you know what to do with Adam Driver, but when it came to Kelly Tran, when it came to John Boyega, you don't know what to do. So what do you want me to say? I enjoyed part of being a part of it, and it's a good experience. But at the same time, he kind of just admits like he thought Finn was going to be the good guy, Ray was going to turn to the dark side, John Kylo Ren, and they were going to be butting heads at the finale. Because like if you look at Force Awakens, it's setting them up as a duo, and then supposedly next movie would split them up, as it did. But then she would fall to the dark side, and last movie would be about either rescuing her, bringing back to the light, or facing off against one another. And the crowd goes wild.
Yeah, because I'm just upset about the whole thing. I mean, okay, with the exception, I'm not going to go down the road, which I've gone down many times, of just because you hold a lightsaber doesn't mean that you are destined to be a Jedi. There is nothing in The Force Awakens that even remotely tells Finn that he's Force sensitive. That communicates to the audience that Finn is Force sensitive. There's nothing in The Force Awakens. He's running by the at the on the it's just but he's got like yeah, even Han Solo says that's not how the Force works. It's I don't know. Welcome to the club of misremembering things that most Star Wars actors have. I just yeah. And I also have one other thing I'm going to say on this, and then I'll just shut up about it. Is that, and again, I will concede. I'm not going to get in the argument of whether or not, just like I said, he had the lightsaber, so he was destined to be the Jedi, of the movie. But the minute that we start to, it's a tough thing. It's a tough argument to have, because the minute that you start getting upset about that, you take away the, how great it was to see a woman be a Jedi, and a woman who came from nothing. You didn't have to be a superhero. You didn't have to be trained. It showed that the Force was was something that was inside of her. You're diminishing the importance of that story as well. And that's why I'm getting kind of I'm just now. All that being said, that character was forgotten, horribly written, just cast aside. I agree. They didn't know what they were doing with Finn. 100%, I agree with that. But to say so, anyway, I yield the floor, and I'll drink my beer.
It stems from the marketing, really. All of this discussion, and
because it was the bait and switch. They didn't want you to know that Rey was going to be and so we'll show somebody else with a lightsaber and make you think. Sorry, I said I was going to shut up. I'll shut up.
They
now.
bait and switched you with the marketing. The marketing looked like it was going to be Boyega, and it was Ridley. And again, like you said, that's great for women. It's not so great for people of color.
Except that we had Mace Windu for 3 movies, who was one of the most powerful Jedi in the.
That was a supporting character. He wasn't
So was Finn.
He's like a Lando, right? You just throw him in there for representation. It's a little different. And again, I see the point. I see the point so much that I was rooting for it to happen. I was rooting for him to be Force sensitive and for them to pay that off in some way over the course of the second and third movie, or the 8 and 9. And it didn't happen. And so I, like a lot of other people, was disappointed in that outcome. But like, I don't know, man. Like thing is, he's been told this too by so many people that like, gosh, I can't believe they did you that way. I can't believe that they did you that way, or they didn't do your character justice, right? To the point where, yeah, like he's got no other response other than to just say, "Yeah, you're right. I believe that too." And now, he comes off as sounding almost bitter about the whole situation,
And
and
you
I
know,
hate
and
that for.
however, I will say, I think he has every right to be bitter because there was no character arc. There was no. You talk about a supporting character. It was. I mean, he was almost cast aside like Rose Tico. I mean, dang near because it was just there was. I don't know. It felt like it were writing for him just because he was there, and I'm mad about that because it was an important character. I mean, his turn from the Empire or from the First Order to the Resistance, and to think, he was being very selfish in the first two movies, and the third movie they tried to. That was just something that could have been paid off a lot better. So he has every right to be bitter.
The development from in the second movie was all about him becoming more self-actualized, is in terms of like, I'm doing what I think is the right thing. I'm becoming a moral person.
For
I'm not
something
just,
bigger than me, yes.
yeah, I'm part of this thing now. And so in that sense the second movie still sort of worked, but they didn't do anything with him in the third movie really at all. And that's just one of many failings that movie had.
And I think, well, two things. First of all, I do think it displays the lack of coherent storytelling thinking that the team putting this sequel trilogy out. Basically, just tell J.J. Abrams, write a movie. He wrote a movie. He threw all these characters in there, and then he said, whoever's coming next will figure it out. He never thought he'd have to pay any of this stuff off. And surprise, surprise, you build a movie because Force Awakens starts with Finn. Finn is the lead character in that role, and it's his journey, much like R2 and 3PO, to introduce us to everybody else. Because he's the one who has the moment from the start about shooting all the innocents. He's the one who's left in the who rescues Poe. He's the one who kickstarts the story. So and we follow his journey as much as we follow Ray's. The surprising thing is that they didn't have much more of an idea beyond. Okay, he might be awakening, quote unquote, and there might be something there between him and Ray, but they didn't really. I mean, Ryan Johnson fleshed some of that stuff out, but not really. And then Rise of Skywalker just gave us that "I need to tell you something" moment, and that was it. It's like, okay, so you really didn't do anything with his character.
Which,
I think,
by the way, his "I need to tell you something" moment of I'm force sensitive. Everybody in the theater was thinking, I forgot to. I need to tell you I love you. I mean, that was the if there was ever any shipping that was kind of anticipated, it was that one.
that one. Hmm.
Because in the second movie he was so concerned about Rey and her safety. In the first movie, you could tell he was, so yeah, so that seemed very awkward when it was like, oh, I forgot to tell you that I can feel the Force. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well,
Uh,
I just, yeah, man, more we talk about this makes me just more mad about the Rise of Skywalker, and I don't want to be mad about a movie. But
But that's the thing. It's like it goes back to the first one I was making, that this wasn't plotted out, this wasn't planned. They just kind of went, okay, let's see what works, and we'll react to that. We'll react to what the audience responds to, and we'll go from there. That was mistake number one. To point two to John's overall idea, I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad idea. I mean, again, if Ray had fallen to the dark side in the Last Jedi, teamed up with Kylo Ren, and then it's up to Finn to bring her back, much the same way as uh, Obi-Wan failed with Anakin and Luke succeeded with Vader. That would have rhymed much the same way anything does in Star Wars. That would have been an interesting plot point. Does that necessarily mean that we would have had to spend a lot of Rise of Skywalker showing Finn learning how to be one with the Force. Yeah, that's the other problem is if you're setting stuff up in one movie, but you're not setting up the right way, by the time it's supposed to pay off, it can feel forced and
But
rushed,
my
which
my
that's
point is,
a problem.
I agree with you. Yes, that would have been an interesting story.
Mhm.
That would have been a good thing they could have done.
Mhm.
I don't see anywhere in The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi that would tell me that that's where anybody would think that's where it was going.
No, no, and that's why he focuses specifically on the Force Awakens script, Episode 7. He reads that script and that's he thinks this is where my journey is, and that's why I go back to had did they ever discuss no your journey is this? Clearly they didn't because Ryan Johnson wrote a completely different film, and then they threw out everything Colin Trevorrow did when Abrams came back and wrote a completely different finale. So whatever promises were made in 2014 13 whenever they put it, cast him for the role, it was out the window by 2018.
Anywho, uh,
Mhm.
This is covered ground, I guess,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Where we all feel the way that we feel, and but Boyega has every right to be mad. Um, Fans have every right to be mad, but also it is what it is.
Again, you've said it's covered ground. I agree with my wife wholeheartedly that those three movies would have been better served if they would have kept the three of them working as a team throughout all three of them and not splitting up because they just played off each other so well. Um, anyway, maybe we'll have to. That'll be a good thought. Maybe we could. Hey kids, let's rewrite. How would we do it? How should it have gone? Um, One thing you didn't have on the news, Fredo, for the 50th anniversary next year or 2 years from now in '77, New Hope is coming to the theater. Let me
Yep,
ask you
I
guys
didn't.
because they posed this on Star Wars Explained.
Mhm.
I'm going to ask you two questions.
April
Should they
30th, April 30th, 2027.
should they um, release the 1977 version? And do you think the other question is, do you think maybe they're thinking about doing that? I mean, Disney owns it. Who cares what George Lucas is, could ILM be like, because I know they released this, they played the 77 version, what, in London, like, what, a year ago or something like that. And
Oh, it was a
Yeah.
few months ago.
and everybody
Yeah.
said it was just really
It was
in bad
rough.
shape,
Yeah.
But do you think you could have some project going on like, let's clean this up? Okay, so I guess my other question, would you be more excited to see the original cut of Star Wars in the theater, or the special edition with Greedo saying McClunky?
The easy answer is to say the original version because we've seen the special edition in theaters. We saw them in '97 for the 20th anniversary. So seeing them into the 2027 for the 50th holds no special weight. So whereas seeing the original, the one that I remember being a kid and seeing in theater in the '80s, that would be nostalgic.
And that would be a good way to get a lot of people continue to talk about your product. But anyway,
Mhm.
Dave, what do you think? Would you rather see the 77 version or the special edition?
I don't know, man.
You don't play
Special
these
edition.
games well.
Special edition. Special edition.
So you'd like the? I mean, I will say when the special edition came out, I was thrilled because it looked spectacular.
Yeah, I think it would be a more enjoyable experience, especially during the special effects sequences, like the attack on the Death Star, um, et cetera, et cetera. I I would enjoy that more. I think. Um,
I
Though it could be fun to watch the original to look for gaffes and things like the stormtrooper hits his head and all that. But
Let me ask you this: would you pay a higher ticket price if it was a double feature and you got to see the special edition and then
oh,
right after the original 77, or vice versa,
I
77 and the special
wouldn't
edition?
pay a lot of money for that, but I would pay a little more.
Now, knowing the fact that seeing in theater, because right now you could come to my house and I could put in a VCR. I could put the original '77 in a VCR, and then we could go watch the special edition on another TV. I don't know. You know, I just like seeing Star Wars on the big screen. I really, and I want it to look good because sometimes it's like, yeah.
Well, those are movies that are built for the big screen, and that's one thing that I think Lucas always stressed. That while he was glad that they home video and streaming and all those put them in people's homes, that those are movies that were
Well,
built to be seen on a big screen
and
with a big sound and everything.
the resolution of screens and everything is just the technology has gotten so it's like I think it would probably take them a lot to make that 77 cut presentable on the technology that they have now.
Mhm.
But I will say, my wife and I were talking about this, that I think there's something wrong with me that I don't get overly nostalgic about things. I think Fredo, you and I were talking maybe about this
Mhm.
on when we saw
Monday.
each other on Monday, and it's like, I don't know, I just am excited that Star Wars is going to be in the theater. I don't necessarily, have to relive my, 4-year-old experience. So I don't know. So anyway, no, it'll be
Yeah.
fun.
Again, if it was the first time back in theaters, I might be a bit more, oh my God. But we've had screenings of it.
Yeah, let me just add that I think there should be something more to celebrate the 50th anniversary than just a rescreening of it. There should be something more going on for the movie. I mean, it's so important, so influential. So many people are so passionate about this thing that it spawned. Um, I don't think just a re-release is good enough. They should do more.
I agree.
Mm.
All right. Well, is that the news? That was the news, right? So
There was a
cool.
lot of news.
All right. I'm going to toss it over to you guys.
We've got to get better on our timing with the news because it seems like every time we do news, we go until there's like maybe 10 minutes left in the show. But I'll try to address it super quickly, just the basic rundown, right, of KOTOR.
Hey, I just saw you have half a beer left. We got time. Go ahead. Talk all you want.
Knights of the Old Republic, largely considered by many to be the greatest Star Wars video game ever created.
All right, I'm going to interject. Why? Why do people think that way? And that's not me being a... I'm just saying, I'm just curious as to why.
I'll have to edit that out.
I'm sorry. It'll be right after the news. You'll remember.
Yeah, right after the news. Yes, put a little marker in. That cuts to the heart of what we're going to get to. I could go in a lot of different directions with this, but the easiest thing for me to do is to just tell you what it is,
Cool.
and then we can go from there and why people like it, or why some people don't like it quite as much. But basically, it's a playing video game. Came out in
2003.
Indeed for Microsoft originally, so it was originally on the Xbox and then got ported over to PC, and now you can get it. You can play it pretty much anywhere. It's on Steam, it's on Switch, it's a bunch of different places. There's been rumblings about it getting remastered for a number of years now. It's probably going to happen because I think sometimes news leaks out that it's going to get canceled, and then the news comes out a little bit later on that no, the remake is still happening. But the reason that the remake is happening is because it's so well thought of. And it differs from most Star Wars games in that it's an RPG. And I guess that's the 5,000 foot view. It's not a it's not like a turn-based role-playing game. It's more of a Dungeons and Dragons style of here's a game of chance. We're going to roll dice, and your party's characteristics will determine, along with chance, if they have success or not. Your character can sort of progress towards the light side and can progress towards the dark side.
But yeah, so thinking back, 'cause I did play this game when it first came out. It was funny. We had an original Xbox, and we got it. We bought it, and then we also bought the companion guidebook. Which, Dave, if you ever want to play that game, that's play it because it tells you where all the hidden stuff is. But overall, I think the reason why it's held in such high regard is its storytelling. This game was created by BioWare Studios, who went on to create stuff like Mass Effect, Dragon Age, a few other major Western RPGs. So they were taking all those elements of role playing games that Japanese companies excelled at, but doing it in a bit more dynamic, not turn-based dynamic, or at least hiding those RPG elements. The rolling of the dice were hidden within the code so that it felt seamless. That you, when you attack the villain or you roll the character. The other interesting aspect that the game did by leaning into those role-playing elements was the building of your team, the storytelling elements, so that as you went along, you got this ship and you got a crew, and they each had their own stories and their own background. Some of them were aliens, some of them were human, some were Jedi. And based on your interactions with them, with the other crew members, and with the world around you, how you resolve the conflicts that you encountered, that would push characters to either get closer to you and therefore closer to the side of the force that you were towards, or reject you. You could lose characters, and it's an interesting trick that Bioware, the company, took and put in all the other games that followed and kind of refined as they went along. But this was kind of like the first big time that it really happened. So you're getting an immersive, interactive story set in Star Wars 4,000 years before A New Hope. So you could go, hey, I want to go to Nar Shaddaa. I want to go to Korriban. I want to do this. You could ostensibly get in your on your ship, punch in the code, and off you went. And then you pick which characters will come with you, who you talk to, and so it really lent itself to the presentation of choice that a lot of games really don't give you. I mean, many games are linear. You just go from hallway A to hallway B, shoot, kill, or defeat, and move on. This one gave you the impression that you had choice in the matter of how you look, what weapons you use, what style you use. So that presentation of choice that the game gave you, while at the same time making it dynamic, so that you didn't have to stop every 30 seconds there was a battle. I mean, you could. There were moments where you could literally talk somebody out of fighting you if you want, if you're a light side, or you could trigger a fight with somebody if you just kept pushing them as a dark side user. And of course, you knew that you're going to win depending on your power levels or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, that was there was a lot of there were a lot of options available to you in terms of like we talk about the story being so well done.
Mhm.
Essentially, you would encounter a fork in the road all the time, and again, like these characters are well realized, the plot is well realized, but then you ultimately get presented with a choice. Murder all of these children, or save them, or do something a little more middle of the road. Like pretend the situation doesn't exist. And all of these choices would sort of affect your character's growth ultimately. Towards by the end of the game, you would be more dark side or more light side.
So, what is the elevator pitch of the plot? What is?
Well, like Fredo
Okay.
said, like one of the things that's really cool is that it's set so far ahead of most of the current canon, that you're not like stepping all over it, and you're not like leaning on it either. It's just a bunch of different characters who just happen to sort of live in this universe. Um, it leans heavy on the Jedi, the Sith, all of those tropes. But if you took those things away, this could literally be set anywhere, right? And the story is ultimately about
You.
art, you. Well, yeah, really. Like in the, look in the mirror. How do you want to live your life?
Yeah, I would say elevator pitch wise, Aaron, I would say this is imagine you could put yourself in a Star Wars story and how would you go through that story? And that's kind of the simplistic, but also the beauty of the game. Because the game starts, the first thing you do is you, like any role-playing game, you create your character, what class you are, what kind of you get a point system that allows you to do certain things well, but not some things not so well. And then the movie starts and you are somebody with no past, no memory. You're just one character thrown in the middle of uh, the Jedi Sith war 4,000 years in the past, and you're losing because the Lord of the Sith, is actually chasing you and trying to destroy you. You don't know why, but you're trying to get away and figure out what's going on. And you run into the Jedi, but the Jedi don't quite trust you, and so you keep gathering people to you. And as you go along, you discover kind of certain secrets and dynamics. But ultimately, the whole point is, how are you going to play your story in Star Wars to determine the outcome? Do you want it to be the old Republic wins and light and whatever ends up triumphing, or do you want to fall to the dark side and rule everything and crush your enemies with an iron fist? You get both choices. And you even get choices in the middle where you're maybe not that bad, but people don't really trust you, or maybe you're not that good, but people kind of like you. So again, it's a long journey that allows you to play a Star Wars story to the way you'd want to tell your Star Wars story to go.
I think like when we were talking about how well regarded it was too, I think it bears understanding the context of that, because when the game came out, there weren't a lot of games out that resembled this game at all. Um, in terms of, like I said, those sort of Dungeons and Dragons dynamics of the gameplay itself, where things are sort of based on chance. Um, and there's this micro level of customization where I'm going to tweak this character's intelligence by like 1 point, and then I'm going to tweak this other character's courage by a point, and all of those sorts of decisions impact how battles play out ultimately. Um, that really hadn't been done before. Like, do you talk about Star Wars itself? Um, take that, peel that layer off. That kind of game didn't exist, and so the fact that this game came out and gave this to gamers wasn't a thing that they'd been able to play before, and also gave them the Star Wars fun. Um, it just became like an instant huge hit, um, and critically acclaimed. People love this thing. It, it was one of the system sellers for the Xbox. Like it was, again, because it was console exclusive at that point. You couldn't get anywhere else. Um, so it was a really big deal, and justifiably so.
And,
However,
and, Mhm.
go ahead.
No, and I was just going to say, just to finish up on that point, just that idea of there really wasn't a game. I mean, yes, you do have Japanese role-playing games, the Final Fantasy games, Chrono Trigger. Again, these are some epic, famous, acclaimed games, but they function very much within the Japanese RPG style. This was the very first Western RPG where you're very much, okay, here's your world, go. Do what you will. There's nothing stopping you. We're not pausing you. You go as far as you want and go do as much as you want. And it's something that Bauer really excelled. Like I said, it's a system that they would copy and transpose through the next games. And particularly, I mean, a lot of the fun was just weirdly enough, was just sitting around talking to your crewmates, talking to the other characters around you, trying to figure out what angle they're going to come with, what you can do to kind of support them, what missions they're going to send you on. Because you want to, again, this is still the Star Wars galaxy, and you want to spend as much time in it as possible. Not to the bone.
Yeah, when Fredo said Japanese style RPG, he meant like more turn based. Like I get to throw my sword, I get to do my sword attack. Now it's your turn. You do your sword attack. Okay, now I cast my spell. Okay, it's more set up a little bit more like that, wherein this is more. I'm choosing the next 5 actions that I want my characters to sort of implement, and it's up to their attributes to determine if they're going to be able to do them or not, and if I'm going to succeed here. So again, quite a bit different, and really also the story being a little less linear in terms of you can just make your character into whatever you want to make them into. They're not going to follow a particular path. Problems. Game is glitchy as all get out. Like so many problems. Like if you're trying to play this thing on Steam, you're going to pull your hair out, and I don't have a lot of hair left. So for me, it was a really bad situation, but I got through it. I'd also say that the graphics are very much dated. Again, not a big problem for somebody like me typically. But like these are these blocky looking people where like faces hadn't really been figured out yet in terms of the graphics that you see in video games. That didn't happen for another couple of years after this game came out. Maybe a year, actually, maybe 2 years. Like when you see the textures in like Half-Life 2, was when you really see like, oh my gosh, that's pretty good. That's almost today worthy. But yeah, this very much is not that. These are some ugly textures, some ugly people with squarish looking faces. And I would also say that the level of customization is so intense and you're not really given a roadmap. And so you can go into this thing and think, maybe I'm going to make my guy the bravest person in the galaxy. And you come to find out 15 hours later into your game that bravery doesn't count for anything in terms of like battles or scenarios where you're talking to other characters. Doesn't matter at all. But you put all your points into that. Well, now you're boned. You're utterly boned. And the first section of the game is boring and dull and kind of terrible, and they treat it as though it is kind of the instructional section of the game without actually giving you useful advice. So it's the I kind of got to figure things out section of the game with a lot of throwaway scenarios that are kind of dull, boring. You don't even become you become a Jedi eventually in this game. You don't become a Jedi until like 15 hours in, and then you got another planet you got to go to, and that planet's kind of iffy, and you're like, what am I doing here? This is no good. This is no good. And so the thing about it with this game is that Fredo and I, when we were talking about it, was just this idea of how games age poorly sometimes in some respects. What ages well, what doesn't age well? Is it important for someone that wants to circle back to Knights of the Old Republic today, and they think, wow, this is the game in the Star Wars universe. This is the game everyone talks about. That I should play this. Is there something about this game that makes it hard for modern audiences to sort of wrap their arms around? And like I said, like some of those things that are going on, or especially early on in this game, are just things that I don't think people today feel like they should have to deal with. Modern gamers in particular, but also older gamers like myself, who my hours are limited. My hours on this planet are limited. I don't want to spend them playing a game that is not fun. And the first section of this game is not fun.
And I hate to say it, but I think that's just an unfortunate reality of role-playing games. Because I mean, whether you're talking Knights of the Republic, you're talking Mass Effect, you're talking Skyrim, Fallout, they all have to start with a tutorial to kind of build you into the world, kind of let you know how you run around, how you do so that when you end up stepping into the world, you don't feel, like you're useless. The hard part is there's no way to make that nicer. I will say, have you played Mass Effect or Mass Effect, Dave? The Mass Effect series?
I don't have any desire to after playing this.
Okay, you should because well, you should. You should. I'll make sure you get them to play because I have them. And it's only a 4 year leap from this game to those games, and it is amazing how much technology jumps in 4 years. Because you go from the Xbox to the Xbox 360, all of a sudden you get actual human faces that don't look boxy and washed out. There's more vibrancy in colors. They're actually talking, their mouths actually move and saying the language. You actually get audio of people talking, not just, you get another the pause when your character talks, they just a whole bunch of little dialogues and just you're just standing still. Then you pick one. No, this actually moves. That's the other thing I'll say. This shows what this game needs a remake or a remaster or something where it needs a ton of polish because yeah, it, and this goes to something that like Aaron is a big Donkey Kong fan. Donkey Kong works great to this day because it's simple. It's 8 bits. It functions whether you do it on your phone, whether you do it on an arcade machine. It is perfect in its simplicity. This game could be that because it's way too complex and you can see the seams at it. And I think that's kind of the hard part with the games aging. We're far more forgiving of older games when they excel. Like think of something like Tetris. It's just boxes. I mean, little boxes with different colors and a little Russian theme playing. So you can be more forgiven for it because it's just doing its one little thing. Whereas this game is trying to do multi. It's trying, like I said, it's trying to tell you a Star Wars story, put you in a Star Wars story that you can live and interact and breathe in. Unfortunately, you can see the. It's kind of like being in Star Wars in Star Cruiser. You can see the seams where the world ends and the cast members are behind, kind of helmets off and all sharing the smoke, kind of a thing.
Literally at times, because like my graphics card, I would turn my head, like there would be like breaking of the graphics, right? Like a starburst effect where you're not seeing what you're supposed to see. It's just like bleh, and it's like, oh, they're the seams, like they're literally there. I can see them. Like you said, like as if you're on set and you turn your head and like, oh, there's the camera and there's the gaffer and all these things. And it kind of breaks the immersion. This went on for me playing this game. But I will say, like, the story goes in such interesting places that by the end of it, I was glad that I played it. Like, even with all the problems that it had and the issues early on, and I'm like, why am I even bothering with this anymore? There's no way that I'm going to like this thing. At the end of the day, I did enjoy it, and I did like the story, and I did appreciate getting to learn more about the lore here.
I will
So,
say, just to finish, you haven't played Knights of the Republic 2, have you?
no, and like I said,
But
I'm
and here's the thing. Here's the interesting aspect. Knights of the Republic 1 has a more complete, well-rounded, all-around story. Knights of the Old Republic 2 goes to some very interesting philosophical places. It
Right.
is a deeper thinking game, which, again, just 3 years back, and you're talking Star Wars game, you don't think that this game's going to have you thinking about some stuff, and it does.
I,
So,
I need to pause you because you've said story. Both of you said story a couple times, and I asked you probably about 10 minutes ago what the plot, what
mhm.
is the story, and you didn't tell me what the story is.
Okay,
So
the story
if
is
I have a Nintendo Switch and I want to go, you guys have not convinced me to go even
okay.
attempt to play
Uh,
this because I don't know what I'm getting into. So
Okay,
yeah,
here you go. 4,000 years before a Battle of Yavin, there is a galactic civil war between the Sith lords who are go running ramshot all over the old Republic. You are a person with amnesia who wakes up in a ship as it is being attacked by Darth Malak, Darth Lord of the Sith, who is trying to kill you for some reason you don't understand. You crash land onto a planet where you need to find a ship and get out of there before the Sith come and destroy everybody and kill you. Go. Now you have to discover why does the Dark Lord want to kill you? Why are the Jedi interested in you? And as you go along, try to find a way to fight the Sith. That's your game.
well now I'm interested. Thank you.
Mm.
And like I said, it these are not characters that you see in other canon. Really, there's again, you're not stomping all over. Oh, they did Han Solo dirty, or they did Jabba dirty, or they did whoever dirty. It's like no, it's all different characters. Um, and again, like it's an actual war between the Sith and the Jedi, and there's no rule of two here for the Sith. So it's just like an army of Sith
Mhm.
that you're having to deal with and navigate. And then again, there's geopolitical considerations. You go to a lot of the familiar planets that you already know and love, Kashyyyk, Tatooine, um, etc. And you see,
Tatooine, yeah.
yeah, and you see what kind of situation is going down on those planets, in the early days of a galaxy far, far away.
Before we do sign off, because I know we're probably about to come to a close, I have to mention it has one of my favorite droids of all time, HK-47. That character, I mean, I'm just like that. I mean, because again, it's a hunter killer, it's an assassin droid that becomes part of your team, but he's very much a droid that does not like organics. Refers to everybody as meat bags, except you, because you're master, so therefore we'll respect you. But the way it speaks and the way it goes, I mean, I'm always like, he was Chopper before Chopper was Chopper.
Is that why you said meat bag or meat baggers in our text today?
Yes,
I thought
yes.
you were having a stroke. I didn't.
No,
Yeah.
I'll have
Okay.
to find I'll have to find a clip of him talking and send it to you so you can kind of get an idea because it's hilarious. Again,
Because you said
particularly when you sit down and talk to him, he's just like supposition. I guess so, Master. I wouldn't know how meatbags sound when they break apart.
because yeah, I thought I was like, did Fredo lose his mind because it said concurrence? Yes, indeed, meat bag, and I'm like, all right, I.
Again, I'm
You,
gonna find a
you,
clip and I'll send it to you.
you can have three people in your party at any given time. Ultimately, again, like the character diversity is really cool because you got a Wookiee. You have a couple of different droids to pick from. You have several Jedi characters, gunslinger, um, thief.
Now, isn't the in the controversy is whether or not some of this stuff is canon? I mean, because that's been people think it should be, others say it isn't, and it's that. I mean, because I
Yep,
know Darth Revan is one that's
yep,
involved in this. I know.
yep. He's one of the big characters, one of the big Sith lords that are battling to the top of the Republic, the old Republic, and his journey's interesting. But yeah, it's an interesting aspect. It kind of shows the connection that fans made. Again, because of the story, because of the characters, because of the journey it takes you. People want this movie. I mean, you one of the subplots is you signed a Mandalorian assassin to come join your party, and you get involved with the Mandalorian Civil War kind of a thing, because the Mandalorians are in this and they're battling the Jedi as well. So again, uh, it creates an interesting dynamics, but whether or not they want to, they're going to turn this into canon or not. I mean, again, it's 4,000 years in the past. You could now. Will James Mangold listen to a single thing and it puts it in there? Probably not.
Yeah, there's that the project that James Mangold's working on. I know that the Acolyte creative team has talked about how they would like to adapt this, and that they've taken aspects of it to inform what they did in the Acolyte. Um, it's kind of the gold standard for prequel content, and has been for a long time, even with the new content that we've gotten with the books and the comics, and even the Acolyte. I think people still sort of point to this as being their favorite.
Well, and it was fertile ground. I mean that
Mm.
we everything has been within the same about 60 years, but they went way in the past. So
I mean, I'll tell you, like there were moments like during the first half of my play of this game, I was miserable, and I'm like, how quickly can I end this? Do I quit? Um, do I restart and try to build my party back up?
you're really
Uh,
making me want to go fire up the Switch and just put on Donkey Kong Jr. I mean, it's good that you're being that honest about it. That it is like if you're gonna, it sounds like if you're gonna play this game, prepare yourself and you got to be in it, because it's not just a passive, you know.
Not, no,
So
you really have to sort of suffer through the first section of this game to just get to the point where it starts to get good. And then when it does get good, it gets very good. Um, and when it's the story elements like we've talked about, and just um even like minor character side quests that you get into, you're like, oh, some farmer has some quarrel with some other farmer, and they're like fighting over land or something, and you're like sent in as a mediator to sort of resolve the dispute. It's so well written, right? Like you're like, this is kind of cool. These characters are, I believe that this is some hick farmer who's mad at this other guy, and the other guy's like cussing you out, and you can either take that or not, depending on whether you want the dark side points or the light side points. Um, all of Again, it all sort of works really, really well from a storytelling perspective. It's just the first section of the game, you just have to like grin and bear it and decide like, yep, fine, okay. And um and I will say this, it might be worth for anybody that thinks like, well, that sounds a little daunting, I don't know, it might be worth like sort of looking at a tutorial and figuring out, cheating a little bit by looking at what the systems are, and what are the most desirable traits to assign to your characters, those kinds of things. It might be worth cheating a little bit on, and letting that guide your outcome, because like once the battles become more manageable, where you don't have to like replay them over and over and over and over and over and over again, um, once they become more manageable and you become more successful, then the game becomes really enjoyable. Even that insane last part of the game, it's insane at the end. I mean, like, so challenging, very difficult to get through, um, but like in a really enjoyable way, because you feel good about having conquered it ultimately. And you're so invested in the story at that point that it's like, yeah, I'm seeing this thing through. There's no way I'm not. Um, so yeah, to me, that's KOTOR. That's Knights of the Old Republic. Not my favorite Star Wars video game, but I can see why it was so well regarded when it came out, and why to this day people will fight you over this being the best Star Wars video game and tell you like, yes, that's the one you have to play, even though it's a little dated. First section of the game kind of sucks. Know that going in. And you can still have a good time with it, I guess.
Well, all right. Well, let us know whether you see us on the street corner or online or anything like that, if you've played this game, or if Dave and Fredo have made you want to play this game, or
or want to fight us.
So, but until then, we will say who dat?
Do that.
Who dat?
Everybody have a fantastic week.
McConkey.